Oh, big fat science! Big fat science! Nothing like some fat aggression to start your day, fam. We got 5 on that motherfucking clock. If you got a clock, you better put 5 on that motherfucking clock. Big fat science, you don't say. Big fat science. Critical weight science. No such thing. No such thing. Critical weight science does not exist. Fat liberation, riots, not diets. Really? Rioting, not dieting. Okay, so let's get really, really fat. Let's channel that fat aggression into some bullshit. This is an insult to science. All this kind of crap, all this kind of critical theory nonsense, this is an insult to science. This is not science. They're just using the word and they're manipulating people. All right, let's get into this BS. Fat men are less interpersonally violent and criminally active than thin men because they have low testosterone and they're weak men, maybe? They're just low testosterone because they're so unhealthy. In one large-scale study of over 40,000 offenders in Australia. All right, I can stop this right there. You do realize that Australia literally began with criminals. Australia was where the British used to send all their criminals. So everyone in Australia is pretty much descended from criminals. But that's another story. That's a history lesson, by the way. Fat men were 40% less likely than thin men to be arrested for interpersonally violent crimes, homicide and assault. More generally, fat young men were also 36% less likely to be arrested than thin young men. So just less testosterone? So does this go along with cutting off men's balls? Should we be castrating men? Is that what you're saying? Make men more like women? You do realize that men are less agreeable than women, which is why men are more aggressive. Because agreeableness matches directly with aggression. If you're less agreeable, you're going to be more aggressive. Oh my God. Maybe you can bring this up the next time someone wants to wring their hands about the so-called social and economic costs of obesity. Are we talking about being obese and the medical health care costs? Are you saying that if someone is not fat, that they're going to be murdering people? Obesity paradox? This is such bullshit. This is such bullshit. This is called cherry-picking data. This has nothing to do with reality. Absolutely does not. It does not. Okay? Nothing. Nothing. Fat men were 40% less likely than thin men. It literally could be. It literally could be that you're so unhealthy that it plummets your testosterone so you're less aggressive. But what about depression? What about higher rates of suicide? What about medical care costs? What about diabetes? What about heart disease? This is just nonsense. Nonsense. This is the problem with cherry picking a study. This is the problem when you start with the conclusion. And this is what all these fat acceptance and fat liberation bullshit comes from. They start with the conclusion. They start with what they want the outcome to be. Fat is good, thin is bad. Thin white men are the enemy. It's all about being fat. Fat, 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 fat. Thin is bad, fat is good. If you say anything against fatness, you're wrong. End of story. So when you start with the conclusion, you do realize there's 7 billion people in the world. There are a lot of bullshit studies, okay? You could find any source, any study, and cherry pick it to fit your narrative. Okay, we're seeing that in mainstream media all the time. When you start with the conclusion, and you're only looking for things to prove your point, you're going to find it, okay? You are gonna find that. With cognitive bias, you're gonna find that. Absolutely, okay? This happens with everything in fitness, with nutrition, with politics. I mean, there's the objective reality, and then there's the conclusion that you want, the interpretation that you want to come from that. Ask me a big fat question, you big fat liar, you big fat manipulative sack of human pus. I don't know what to call you. Hashtag violence, hashtag obesity paradox, hashtag prison, murder, death, assault. So next time someone wants to wring their hands about the so-called social and economic costs of obesity, well, fat men are less likely to murder people. They're less likely to get off the couch and do anything, by the way. and they literally are not moving much at all. What are your thoughts, fam? Do you think that we should just kill people's testosterone? You think we should just get people fatter? You think a fat society like Wally is the answer? Maybe that's it. The fatter, the better. Just get people fat as hell. We don't need healthy men. What are your thoughts? Drop it down below. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll talk soon, fam. Peace.
That's a bed that you made. That's a bed that you made. That's a bed that you laid. That's a bed that you laid. What kind of game is you playing? We go hard in the paint. We go hard in the paint. Yeah. What the fuck is you saying? I only go where they pay. What kind of game is you playing? Yeah. Whoa. My shit is relevant. Off topic. My melanin is popping. I'm taking skeletons out closets and making new deposits. I'm in my element. No ollies. You children popping.